Hello victims and welcome to Survivor's Guild, now part of the Mutant Fam Horror Consortium, a community of like-minded individuals working together to create content and build relationships by and for fans of the genre. Seriously, go check out mutantfam.com. They've got tons of great content on the site, lots of YouTube channels, podcasts, art, you name it, and they've got it. Go check it out and start subscribing to some of those podcasts and YouTube channels. And look for an ad at the end of this video as well for another one of our channels that's worth taking a look at. Today, we are talking about the 2019 film, The Banana Splits Movie. Written by Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas, and directed by Danishka Esterhazy, starring Danny Kind, Steve Lund, Romeo Carrera, Naledi Majola, Richard White, and Selena Martin, as well as Eric Bauza nailing the voices for Bingo, Fleagle, Snorky, and Drooper. The Banana Splits movie is about a beloved kids show where the main characters are animatronics, and after a dirty update, the robots go on a killing spree to keep their show from being cancelled. By the way, special thanks to JC Madman 644 for bringing to my attention that I should mention at the outset that I'm going to spoil the movie. Being that I generally don't care about being spoiled, I totally forgot to care about spoiling it for others. Wait, forgot to care? Oh, what am I? Some kind of flippin' psychopath? Yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys like mushy brown bananas and lukewarm ice cream ooze, cause this movie is about to get spoiled. We are immediately introduced to the Banana Splits, Fleagle, Bingo, Drooper, and Snorky, and then Stevie. And as this episode runs in the background, we see that Beth has fallen asleep while wrapping presents for Harley's birthday tomorrow, only to be scared awake by Discount Snorky. Oh, never mind, that's Harley in a costume of his favorite banana split. After putting Harley back to bed, Beth checks on Austin, her 19-year-old son who isn't fooling anybody.
Mom, what time is it?
That's your curfew. That's what time it is.
But she just wants to know that he is safe before she goes to bed. We find out a little bit about this later. The next day, while preparing for Harley's birthday party, Beth finds out that Harley's cardboard friend Duncan won't be able to attend because he has the flu. As it turns out, Duncan is Harley's only friend because a lot of kids his age have grown out of the Banana Splits. We are introduced to Mitch, who is Harley's dad, but Austin's stepdad. Beth planned months ago to take Harley to a live taping of the Banana Splits, but they now have an extra ticket because Duncan had to cancel.
There's not too many kids his age that still like that show.
It's because it's stupid, Beth.
A little bit later, they drop the bombshell surprise on Harley, but Mitch steals the glory from Beth, showing his true colors.
We have another surprise for you. We
are going to the Banana Splits.
Thank you so much, Daddy. You're the best.
Harley, we talked about this. You're too old to call me Dad, okay?
We are then introduced to Zoe and her mom. Zoe is not looking forward to going to see the Banana Splits, but her mom is making her go anyway. Flash to Taft Studios, where this security guard is checking people in and giving them nightmares.
You know, sometimes at night, when I'm the only one here, I see the Splits riding around in the little cars, laughing and singing.
Really?
He's playing with you, Harley.
We then meet Paige and Doug, who are in charge of checking tickets and ushering the audience into the show. We meet Parker and her stage dad, Jonathan, Thad and Poppy, who are hoping to live stream the Banana Splits before finding out that that phone is going to be confiscated. But Poppy is able to get around that by hiding her phone and bringing it into the studio anyway. The stars of the show show up and nearly obliterate Harley Deathwish, who steps out in front of their vehicle. Unfortunately, Mitch is blissfully unaware of his child's near demise because he was distracted by something on his phone. Been there, done that. Beth fills him in on what happened, and then Austin hits on Paige.
Hey, here you go. You can put your number in there if you want. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said that. I thought it would sound cool, like smooth.
It didn't.
Okay, just take my phone, please. I just hate myself.
Cut to the workshop where the robots were birthed, where we are introduced to Carl, the dude who made these things. Then, while Drooper's update goes code red, we are introduced to Rebecca, the producer, who is upset about the size of the prop hammer for today's show. And Andy, who was just promoted to be Vice President of Programming, and he has made the decision to cancel the show. So today will be its last episode, even though in this universe it is still a huge hit. Back with the audience, Paige lets them know that the show will begin momentarily, and that everyone who has a star on the back of their ticket gets to meet the Banana Splits after the show. Unfortunately, Harley and his family do not have stars on the back of their tickets, and with the audience waiting patiently, the show must start even though Drooper is nowhere to be found. While the show is filming, Austin takes off to use the restroom but uses the break to talk Paige into letting his family stay after the show, as a gift for Harley. The show continues with its next segment, Sloppy Time, while Stevie is in the back getting sloshed and being jealous about the respect the animatronics get that he doesn't. When Stevie finally gets ready for the end of the show, he passes by Andy's office and overhears that the show is going to be canceled. But unfortunately for Andy, Stevie wasn't the only cast member to hear that conversation, if you know what I mean. Bingo overheard it as well. That's what I mean. So now it's time for the show to wrap up, and Stevie shows up on set looking like hell, just in time for the Wheel of Endings, which sounds like a great way for someone to die, but maybe closer to the end of the movie. Stevie, who is unusually delighted about the animatronics' impending unemployment, teases Drooper that it might be his last time to spin the wheel. Unfortunately, Drooper's new update taught him how to pick up on dropped hints.
Okay, Stevie.
The wheel lands on Rockout, as it is prone to do at the end of every show, and the Banana Splits begin their closing song for their closing episode, but this time has way more leg-sweeping action. At the end of the show, Paige reminds the audience to stay if they have stars on their tickets, and then has Doug take the remaining audience members to the exit. Paige confronts Beth and her family and lets Harley know that the Banana Splits want to meet their biggest fan on his birthday. Aw, that's sweet. But Mitch gets a, quote, call, quote unquote, that he must take, so he'll meet up with them later. Backstage, Stevie lets the bots know that they've been canceled, and that he's always hated them. I wonder which thing made them more upset, because Stevie finds himself on the receiving end of a lollipop jam. And that lands Stevie as number 1 on our list. That was a pretty sweet death scene. Get it? Sweet, because the lollipop? Moving on. The group makes their way towards the place in the studio where they meet all the splits, but Beth wanders away from the group to find Mitch, while everyone else takes advantage of their photo opportunity. And stage dad Jonathan tries to get his daughter a gig, but when Paige isn't having it, he takes his daughter and they go to find the producer themselves. And while Paige chases after them, Thad and Poppy decide to go check out the rest of the set. So that means Harley and Zoe have the splits to themselves. And Beth steps outside to find Mitch on the phone, who looks crazy suspicious. And as it turns out, he's been PG-13 sexting Kara, as well as rated R relationshiping her. Austin comes out to defend his mom, and then Beth and Mitch settle things like adults by calling it quits. Beth and Austin head back into the studio while Mitch gets stalked by Snorky. Meanwhile, stage dad Jonathan and his daughter find Rebecca, and Parker gives her a little presentation that is massively inappropriate.
What you gonna do with all that junk? All that junk inside your trunk?
Stop. That is disturbing.
Jonathan should be on a watch list, guys. When Jonathan finds out that Rebecca is technically out of a job, Jonathan realizes that Andy is the person he needs to see, not this unemployed producer. Elsewhere, Thad and Poppy discover Fleagle's magic shop and decide to go live.
What's up, you guys? It's your boy Thad.
And as it turns out, this was part of a plan for Thad to propose to Poppy, and she says yes. Awesome, guys, I'm sure you'll enjoy long lives together. But then Fleagle shows up and breaks their phone, and throws Thad in a box, and saws him in half with some excellent practical effects. Flegel then puts his sights on Poppy but gets distracted by the sound of little kids, so Poppy survives. However, her new fiance lands at number 2 on our list. And unfortunately, Zoe and Harley go with Flegel under the assumption that he is going to take them to meet Snorky, and not their untimely doom. Cut to Mitch, who is still outside waiting by the car, carrying on a conversation with Kara, when he hears something and goes to check it out. It turns out to be Snorky in the Banana Splits mobile, and he begins running for his life. Check back with stage dad Jonathan and his daughter Parker, who are still looking for Andy, but they're in luck because they found his office. But unfortunately, his office has less Andy and more Drooper, which costs Jonathan his looks when Drooper torches him right in the face. While Parker runs away, but right into the arms of Bingo. Meanwhile, Mitch is still running away from Snorky. That dude's been keeping up on his cardio and runs straight into the place that should offer him the most protection, the security booth. Which is good because the security guard has a good head on his shoulders. Unfortunately, it's not attached, making him number 3 on our list, which frightens Mitch and sends him backing out of the booth and right into the way of Snorky's vehicle. But he's not dead yet. Do I hear character redemption arc? No, I do not. Back in the studio, we catch up with Beth and Austin, where they are having a conversation about how she is overly protective, which stems from the fact that she watched Austin's dad die and couldn't stop it. Paige and Rebecca walk into the set, and Rebecca assures Beth that everything is under control, just in time for extra crispy stage dad Jonathan to wander in and let them know that the Banana Splits were the ones that did this to him. Flashback to Flegel, who has taken Harley and Zoe to Carl's workshop, where Parker is being kept in a cage, and Flegel proceeds to put Zoe and Harley in the cage as well. Flashback over to Beth and Austin, who are frantically looking for Harley and Zoe, and wander into Bingo's jungle set, who drops down and sweeps Austin off his feet. Beth heads up to the catwalk to get Austin and catches Bingo off guard, sending him falling over the railing.
Time's almost up.
For you.
And when Austin and Beth come down from the catwalk, they find Poppy, who is emotionally wrecked and mentally stressed. After some discussion, they talk her into leaving her 2 halves of a dead fiancé and coming with them. Cut back to the kids in the cage when Carl returns to his shop. The kids tell Carl to unlock the cage, but he says he can't. And as it turns out, he tried to tell the Splits that what they were doing was wrong, and they banana split off 2 of his fingers. Harley helps inspire Carl to let them out, and he goes for the keys. But while fumbling with the locks, Drooper drags a busted up Bingo into the room, which distracts Carl, and he drops what he's doing, namely the keys, and heads over to Bingo, one of his 4 robot children. And Drooper lets the kids know that the show is about to begin, and after the bot backs off, Zoe unlocks the gate, and the kids make their break for it. But when Carl tries to stop them, Harley jabs him in the forehead with a hot piece of metal, and they toss him into the cage. We then catch up with Rebecca and Jonathan, who are waiting on the set when Flegel shows up and lets them know that it's sloppy time!
It's sloppy time!
When Rebecca tries to flee from the course, Flegel kindly breaks her fingers to encourage her participation. While Jonathan and Rebecca destroy their bodies navigating the course, Drooper stands on the sidelines laughing it up and throwing pies. Towards the end of the course, Rebecca realizes that the key that they're supposed to reach is missing. Oh, there it is, in Jonathan's back! Making Jonathan the 4th on our list. While Flegel is admiring his work, Rebecca jumps into the ball pit in an attempt to escape, only to be thwarted by Drooper and his giant hammer, making Rebecca number 5 on our list.
She did it!
Meanwhile, Parker, Zoe, and Harley run into Snorky, but Harley is convinced that Snorky is still good, and after they do the Snorky shuffle, they leave with Snorky believing that he is going to help them. While that's happening, Paige is frantically trying to find a working phone. Having discovered that the audience phones have been destroyed and the phone lines are cut, she continues searching for one that works. But when she runs into Drooper, she runs and hides in a ball pit, the funnest of all hiding spots. And after realizing she's in the ball pit with dead Rebecca, she starts screaming, but Austin is nearby to help. And the 4 of them, Beth, Poppy, Austin, and Paige, then head off to find the kids. The group finds Carl in the cage, and as it turns out, he has completely lost his mind. And when they can hear music, they then try to find where it's coming from, and they discover a utility door. And when they ask Carl what is going on down there, he lets them know that it is the show. Beth, Austin, and Paige head down towards the show, but Poppy hangs back. She discovers what Carl tells her is what would become the 5th banana split, named Hootie. But because Poppy is losing her mind as well, she puts the prototype head on herself and takes the claws to Carl, making him the 6th kill in the movie. As the other 3 make their way through the utility tunnels, Paige stumbles onto a bunch of dead bodies when she slips in a puddle of blood. And although we cannot get an exact count here, we do have an approximate count from earlier in the movie when the Banana Split show first started and we saw the audience in the bleachers. And we know from here that it is only the adults in this pile. So here we have approximately 23 more dead bodies, including Doug, which makes 24. So that accounts for deaths 7 through 30. The 3 move forward and head to what looks like the boiler room and find the Splits performing for their captive kid audience. When the Splits wheel out a dead Stevie complete with lollipop choking hazard. Oh man, these kids are going to be messed up for life. While the Splits torch Stevie's dead body, Beth gets to work freeing the children. Then it's time for the Wheel of Endings. And when Fleegle and Drooper pull back the curtain, we see that Andy has been attached to the wheel. Snorky then shows up with Parker, Zoe, and Harley, but Harley pleads with Snorky not to do this, and Snorky, having just a little bit of goodness left in his robotic body, hands Harley the key for the shackles. The other 2 spin the Wheel of Endings, and it lands on Banana Split, which is bad news for Andy, and he becomes number 31 on our list. After Andy gets torn asunder, Beth tells Austin to grab the kids and go. She then faces off against Drooper and Fleegle, and just before they toast her the same way they toasted Stevie's body, Austin runs in and puts Fleegle out of commission. And when Drooper knocks out Austin and goes to finish Beth, Harley arrives and throws her wand that Austin made him for his birthday, and she uses it to put another hole in Drooper's face, leaving him out of order.
Banana Cadabra, bitch!
And as they set off to make their escape, they run into Bingo, who is back from Carl's shop. But Snorky shows up and we get to see the Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie we've all been waiting for. This bout ends in a tie when Snorky finishes Bingo but has suffered too much damage, so he passes quietly into that good binary.
You'll always be my favorite.
The last of the core Splits having now been dispatched, the survivors head out to the outside world where the police and emergency services have arrived. And as it turns out, Mitch is not dead and has a renewed love for Beth, and she kindly punches him in the face and asks for a divorce. And as everyone exits the lot, they leave Mitch behind, only for him to be run over and killed by a fully insane Poppy, who is driving the Splitsmobile, complete with a trailer carrying the Banana Splits. Making him number 32 on our list. So now, to find out, what are your chances of suffering survivor's guilt? This is where we take a look at our main characters and the death that surrounds them to determine what your chances are of surviving this movie. Beginning with Stevie and quickly to Thad, we have our first 2 and some of the most brutal deaths of the movie. We then have the security guard who loses his head, and then Jonathan and Rebecca who never make it out of sloppy time. Those 3 kills being 3, 4, and 5. We then have Carl who died at the hands of Poppy, being number 6. And then Doug and the audience adults accounting for numbers 7 through 30. And then Andy and Mitch bringing up the rear as 31 and 32. Now, to take a look at our survivors. We have the kids, Parker, Zoe, Harley, and Austin, and then we have Paige, Beth, and Zoe's mom and Poppy, giving us 8 survivors, which means that you have a 20% chance of surviving this movie. With those odds, which of the Banana Splits would shut down your life? Let me know in the comments below. And now it's time for a giveaway. I have a digital copy of It Chapter 2 that I will be giving away to one lucky viewer, but listen closely to the rules. The first rule is that you must subscribe to my channel. So if you're already subscribed, good. You've already got that one taken care of. Now the second thing you must do is share this video on your social media and let me know what social media you shared it on and tag me in it if at all possible. And now here's a way that you can get extra entries in the competition. If you have a friend sub to my channel and they mention that you sent them, that will get you another entry into the competition, upping your chances of winning this digital copy of It Chapter 2. And then in a couple weeks, we will have the drawing to find out who won it, and I will give you the code in your DMs. And if this is your first time on my channel, go ahead and subscribe and check out some of the other videos that I have, just so you don't miss anything. And go ahead and hit the like button. All those things help my channel grow and get some more exposure. And as always, guys, thanks.
Welcome back, video. Welcome back, video. Welcome back. Uncle Living Dead. Welcome back, Video Creeps. What up, guys?
What up? Welcome to my channel, Video Creep. Make sure you hit subscribe.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Boogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Make sure you hit subscribe.
Whatever, I really don't care.
There we go. I think that's adequate.